What a designer lives to do and lives to be about is being part of popular culture. And that became the story of the 300. It was also able to create a legacy, not just for the brand, but for Detroit itself. Hi, my name is Gilles. I'm Chief Design Officer for Stellantis. I liken it to being like a movie director. You know, I have an amazing staff of designers and thinkers and problem solvers, and together we mine the future. We listen to the brands, we get briefs from them, and we try to establish and sometimes even pivot a new direction for the brands. It's so rewarding to kind of, work with these great minds and see what's next.
An idea that began with an engine. A 331 cubic inch Chrysler Firepower V8 with more horsepower than any other production engine.
Well, you have to think of Chrysler as a very clever company. They responded to the times, they adapted to what was going on in the market. So in the 50s, there was a lot of euphoria. It was good economic conditions, a lot of success. Americans were really growing into the suburbs. The highways were really starting to come into their own, and people loved travel, especially high-speed travel. At the same time, Chrysler, fresh from helping with the war efforts, had a lot of technical know-how when we're developing the V8, the famous Firepower V8, today known as the Hemi, but an amazing machine at 300 horsepower, which was a lot of horsepower back then. In fact, one of the most powerful engines ever put in what would be considered a normal car. But it was anything but normal. The 300 was affectionately called the banker's muscle car. And a lot of the people running moonshine apparently used it because they had a big trunk and a powerful engine and would go like stink, so they became legendary.
The 300 set a world-class record for the half-mile drag, crossing the line at 134 and 32 100ths miles per hour.
My favorite part about the 300, it was so subtle. You just didn't realize what it was packing until it surprised you. From the very beginning, the Chrysler 300, because of that heroic engine that it had, the Firepower Hemi, it needed a lot of cooling, which means the grills were somewhat oversized. And over the years, the grill, especially under Virgil Exner's watch, became the character of the vehicle. So he played around with the shapes, the attitude, and then he had the forward-leaning grill called the Forward Look, which became iconic for Chrysler and the company in general. And to this day, when you see them, it really turns your head and puts a big smile on your face. I would say we didn't really bring the 300 back, we redefined it, because before the 300C that people think about today, we had the 300M. And 300M was a very aerodynamic, sleek, more futuristic look, but the powertrain wouldn't fit in that platform. We had the Hemi coming back, because that was a front drive. So with the big engine coming back in the story again, it made us think about resetting the clock, going back to the letter C, because of the Hemi was once again a part of the Chrysler story. So we designed the car around the engine, and it was really kind of set up by the proportions of the front end and then the presence of the vehicle. We were thinking of if the original was called a banker's muscle car, then this thing should have an attitude. It should be a little sneaky. So trying to modernize this somewhat formal sedan into something both athletic and premium at the same time. We looked at the history of Chrysler and what it meant. Again, this balance of luxury and attainability. We wanted the vehicle to be very special, but actually understated at the same time. We actually didn't really know who the end customer was going to be. We just knew that it was a canvas. The 300's design was clean and simple, that we thought many people would see themselves in the car. And when we took it to clinics, it's exactly what happened. Everybody loved it, but for different reasons. Somehow it had a nostalgic effect. Others saw something very futuristic. But all of them saw Americana. And that to us was so important, that the Chrysler underscore the American story about automobile design. It changed my life, and it changed everybody's life that was associated to the vehicle in a good way. It means risk-taking pays off, and also understanding culture pays off. And also understanding that once you have something, let's have some fun with it. So we looked at managing the life cycle of the 300 very carefully and listening to the fan base. And we actually went to the events, I went to the car shows, and I was amazed how quickly clubs were forming around this vehicle all over the country, and in California in particular. So we'd go there and we'd walk amongst them in disguise and see what they were doing to their vehicles. And it became, to this day, you see them modified and tricked out and customized. And that's, again, something we wanted to nudge a little bit, but not really let them own it. We just loved that it was happening. I think the story of the Chrysler 300 will inspire us for years to come. What I mean by that is the ability to pivot with culture. We felt something was going on in American culture. It was the right car at the time. And I think we can do that again and again. And it's a matter of, being an anthropologist, understanding what's missing out there, the white space vehicle. And that's what the Chrysler brand has been good at over the many, many decades. And we're in that process right now. How can we take those learnings and take that excitement and harness that energy and love affair for the brand and go a new direction with it? My hope for the Chrysler brand in the future is to capitalize on this affection that people have for the brand. I hear it all the time. People are excited to see what we're going to do next. So that motivates us. We have many ideas, and we know the brand is synonymous with innovation, so that's exactly what we're up to.